It's Nolan. Yeah, tell him I preach to the choir. We just gon' reach for the sky. Gotta get paid for I meet my demise. Yeah, tell him I preach to the choir. Stand on my feet to the fire. Give all the glory to God. Yeah, tell him I preach to the choir. We just gon' reach for the sky. Gotta get paid for I meet my demise. Yeah, tell him I preach to the choir. Stand on my feet to the fire. Give all the glory to God. Stand in the midst of these haters, I'm silent, nobody can stop me. Just gotta check in my notification, them numbers hit like it's a praxis. Cashed out at the ATM, and the ATL, they done made a gym. I've been kicking doors like the ATL, got them trying to clone me like Aegis. Game time, I invaded gym, high elevated, I can face the rim. Putting shots up, I got laser focus, about to take it over, I'm Invader Zim. On a trip to Florida like it's A&M. Who that nigga, man, they say I'm him. Spit the truth, never wasting film, I can fill a pool, we gon' make them swim. Nigga frontin' some money, I just got a bag. Even Knievel, I still in my dad. Speak to your people before we hit your peephole and bim your burrito, nigga, that's a rap. I got to put my team up on the map. Army fatigue, I really got the scrap. Watch your demeanor for you take a nap. They call me Lupita, boy, I'm finna black. They been looking for me, but I'm here now. Everything I wanted, I've been getting. Separated from them fake niggas, never played a second, I'm a man. Had to struggle on the back road in a trailer park, I was living. Nowadays a nigga winning, only use a phone to talk business. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there. In this particular video, I'm going to take y'all back to the origin of this channel. All right? You could tell by the caption or the title of the video, Lil Wayne, Chris Brown being accused of misappropriating pandemic relief funds that were given to them on behalf of venues, because there was a lot of venues during the COVID pandemic that either had to close down or they were in jeopardy of having to close down, to where the U.S. government then started giving out money so that these places could remain open, so that once the pandemic was over, they would still be able to be in business and get back to live shows after all of that took place. Along the way, certain artists also received payouts from this relief, but they did not use the money, for venues. They're now being accused of using the money for personal use, right? And I say I'm taking y'all back to my roots on this channel because this is the type of stuff that I used to cover. Like some of the inconsistencies in the music industry, some of the injustices that happen in the music industry, labels taking money from artists, artists doing fellow artists dirty in their contracts, all types of stuff like that, right? So in this particular instance, we have, again, Lil Wayne, Chris Brown. We got the EDM DJ producer Marshmello being implicated. And basically, they created this relief for venues, but at a certain point, they also allowed certain artists who did not own venues to receive compensation. They received compensation. Now, all of a sudden, they're now saying, you shouldn't have got this money. You owe us. Which I don't personally understand, because if you allowed them to get it, unless they lied about owning a venue in their paperworks, then why were they allowed to get it in the first place? And now y'all trying to say y'all doing something wrong. I know a lot of people misuse the PPPs. I know a lot of people misused them SBA funds. I know a lot of people did some very questionable things with pandemic relief funds. But again, with people this high profile, how did you allow them to get this money if y'all were going to say you shouldn't have got it? Well, let's address it. Let me share my screen. We're going to get to it. The article here from Business Insider is called How Rich Musicians Build American Taxpayers for Luxury Hotels, Shopping Sprees, and $1 million bonuses. You see how they're framing this? They're saying they took your money as a taxpayer and used it for their personal interests. I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Brown. Lil Wayne is not the guy in favor, but I do respect Lil Wayne's art. I don't listen to Marshmello's music, but just look at how they're framing this to begin with. So this is a investigation that's been taking place for a while. They say many musicians struggled during the pandemic, which is a fact. They say Lil Wayne wasn't one of them. He sold master recordings from his record label's artists for more than $100 million. He was pardoned for felony gun possession in a last-minute action by then-President Donald Trump. He purchased a $15.4 million mansion in the mountains of Los Angeles. And, as a Business Insider investigation found, he received an $8.9 million grant from a little-known pandemic relief program that he used to cover more than 2 years' worth of spending on luxury hotel stays, designer clothes, and travel to and from nightclub appearances around the country. Now, what I find interesting is when you factor in the luxury hotels, the clothing, and the traveling, it sounds to me that he was using the money to tour, because although the country was like shut down to a degree, if you was in the South, there was a lot of shows still going on. A lot of people came to Atlanta. They were still doing shows. I know for sure out in Texas, Memphis, a lot of different areas were still having large gatherings, even though they probably weren't supposed to. That was the whole thing of the super spreaders, right? So I can't necessarily say that he misappropriated the funds, but unless there was a stipulation that says you couldn't pay for it for touring, I don't know. The rapper, whose real name is Dwayne Carter Jr., spent more than $1.3 million from the grant on, high profile on private jets and over $460,000 on clothes and accessories, but he's got to be in front of fans. So that wardrobe is not personal wardrobe, I wouldn't think, because Wayne don't be looking like shit no way. Many of them from high-end brands like Gucci and Balenciaga. He billed taxpayers more than $175,000 for expenses related to a music festival promoting his marijuana brand, GKUA. I mean, that's a business expense, including clothing for artists associated with his record label. Okay, so he also provided wardrobe for artists signed to him. He also used grant money to cover nearly $15,000 worth of flights and luxury hotel rooms for women. Oh, shit. Whose connection to Lil Wayne's touring operation was unclear. I've been throwing you some bail here, Wayne. But they say including a waitress at a Hooters type restaurant and a porn actress. Oh, wow. So they saying not only did he tour off of this money, but he also been giving it to the thoughts. They then show photos and price tags of what he spent this money on. Lil Wayne shopping spree. Lil Wayne stylist spent $8,626.41 on one trip to the high-end boutique Dover Street Market in 2022. According to accountant documents seen by Business Insider. Taxpayers footed the bill. Here's some of what the rapper bought. So they got an ugly ass Matrix Kanye West looking Balenciaga sweater, some Converse Rick Owens that I would never put on my feet, a Balenciaga belt. I don't know why Wayne even wears belts. He wears them all the way off his ass. Some Marnie pants, a Raf Simons baseball cap for $405 that really wasn't worth $50. And we got some Doc Martin Futura boots for $230, okay? On New Year's Eve 2021, he was scheduled to perform at a concert in Coachella. I mean, that's a huge show. But shortly before his set was scheduled to start, a concert employee announced that the rapper would be unable to perform because of the wind and flights. Okay, so this is a date that got canceled. The crowd booed. Wind gusts of 20 to 30 miles per hour were reported in Southern California that night, but data from Flight Radar 24 indicates 4 other private jets flew the exact same route Wayne did. So they're basically saying he ducked off on that. Okay? He used the wind as an excuse not to show up, but other high-profile artists flew in on private jets to make their way there, flying the same route. So what was his excuse? So now they're saying, hey, if you want to use the tour as an excuse, you got dates that you missed with no real excuse. They say instead, posts on Instagram suggest he partied that night at a club on Sunset Boulevard with the rapper 2 Chainz. Sunset Boulevard is in Cali, so
He was in the state. Sheesh. For expenses related to the concert he never performed, Lil Wayne billed taxpayers nearly $88,000. Here is how Lil Wayne spent his grant. He settled a debt that was owed to ex-manager Cortez Bryant. You know, him and Tez used to be best friends. Tez graduated high school a couple years before Wayne dropped out. He went off to college, became a business major. Wayne reached out to him and said, man, my career is about to go to the next level. I need you to come back and manage me. Tez managed him for many years, tried to get Wayne off the cup to no avail. Eventually, Tez left. He went on to co-manage Lotto. I don't know if he's still part of her team. He co-managed Drake. He co-managed Nicki. All of them have parted ways with Cortez. He had to pay Tez $2.14 million. He then paid commissions to Mac Main in excess of $1.7 million. He paid private jets in excess of $1.3 million. Paid his lawyers at Grubman Shire $590,000, which I think is negligible. He's got to pay his attorneys to make sure he's in good standing. He paid his accountants at NKSFB $590,000. I feel like this is a little bit of an invasion. They say he spent $500,000 on clothes. They say clothes may include some double-billed items. Don't say that. Don't be giving us disclaimers now. Y'all don't went into the finances. He then paid $327,000 for contractors who worked on Lil Wayne shows. I mean, why wouldn't he? He paid $300,000 settling a debt to a former accountant that he owed. He paid nearly $15,000 to mystery women. Mystery women. And he allegedly paid $1.3 million towards everything else. Lil Wayne's publicist didn't respond to numerous requests for comment on detailed questions reached by text. Lil Wayne made a sexually explicit overture to a reporter and did not respond to questions. I would assume that sexual overture was suck my dick. But I can't say that for sure. It could have been kiss my ass. Probably one or the other. An abuse of federal resources. The money came from a program called the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, signed into law by Trump in 2020 and championed by lawmakers including Senator Chuck Schumer. It was established as a lifeline for struggling independent venues and arts groups during the pandemic. But pop stars used the program as a piggy bank to keep the party going, while Kendrick told us to let it die. Reporting by Business Insider shows. The star's spending took place against a backdrop of massive pandemic relief fraud. The Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, I told y'all, we all know about that. And economic injury disaster loans. I know about the EIDL as well. They tried to give me some of that. I ain't want that. Gave out as much as $200 billion in suspected false claims. Losses that combined with false unemployment benefit claims amount to what the FBI has called the largest fraud in history. Compared with those better-known programs, the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant had relatively strict eligibility requirements. Okay, this is what would actually implicate these guys if they subverted the eligibility requirements. Still, accounting firms and money managers soon realized their stadium-filling musician clients might be eligible for grant money via their loan-out companies, corporate entities used to handle the business of touring. Grants awarded to clients of one high-powered entertainment business firm, NKSFB, which Wayne works with, totaled at least $207 million. That's who y'all need to be going after. Not Wayne, but these motherfuckers. Hold on. Y'all got $207 million collectively. NKSFB itself collected more than $7 million by helping its clients obtain the grants. What the hell? NKSFB's managing partner, Mickey Segal, didn't respond to requests for comments. The firm's lawyer, Brian Friedman, said they didn't comment on client finances. Grantees received up to $10 million that they could spend on certain ordinary and necessary expenses for their entertainment businesses. They had to make a good faith statement to the SBA, which oversaw the program, that the grant was necessary to support the loan out company's ongoing operations and show that the company's revenue had fallen by at least 25% between one quarter of 2019 and the same quarter of 2020. That's all pretty consistent with what I saw. In a statement, the SBA said it followed the law. But the law directed the SBA to examine revenue, not assets. Musicians with huge bank accounts and multiple mansions were still eligible for the awards as long as their loan out company revenue had declined. Well, this is a small business administration. So if it's on behalf of their business, not their personal bank account, then yes, they were entitled to all of those funds. And when you're talking about jewelry, clothing, shoes, to the average person, that may seem like frivolous items. But when you're an entertainer, all of those things are tax write-offs for your business because it all goes into your presentation as the business. So I see both sides of the story. But I think Business Insider is being very critical because they don't like that these artists got this money. But you can't really tell us where we as taxpayers took an L. Other than saying, well, there's plenty of people that didn't get unemployment or other benefits from other programs, but they don't come out of the same fund. So I think that this is being very nitpicky, but we're going to cover it. Okay? Thousands of pages of accounting documents reviewed by Business Insider reveal for the first time how some wealthy musicians, including Chris Brown, DJ Marshmello, and members of Alice in Chains, spent grants they received through the program. The documents include detailed records explaining how celebrity musicians spent their grants, as well as correspondence between their accountants and the SBA. Business Insider has verified the authenticity of the documents. They reveal how artists directed millions in taxpayer funds not toward touring crew members, but instead toward their own bank accounts, luxury purchases, and entertainment expenses, often while sitting on substantial wealth from other business ventures. I don't agree with that. Again, if they're purchasing jewelry, clothing, and shoes, if they're traveling, paying for hotels and jets, which they're touring in, that all goes towards business expenses, which are then reported to the government at the onset of each year. Now, if you say if the IRS says these are ineligible expenses, then I would be on the side of Business Insider. But I haven't heard of any outstanding taxes from the pandemic. I know Wayne was in debt prior to the pandemic, but I don't know of current debt to the IRS for invalid expenses. On top, government accountability experts said some of the spending Business Insider identified was questionable, but stopped short of saying it was fraudulent. At minimal, it smells, said David Walker, former Comptroller General of the U.S. Whether it's legal or not is up to a lawyer or ultimately a court, but it sure smells. The SBA said it implemented industry-leading fraud controls. Now, I ain't saying niggas didn't get over, but I am saying based on how entertainers specifically who have to maintain an image in order for you to believe in them, in order for you to feel like they're worthy of your support in many cases, of course they're going to spend on material items. Many of those material items don't get worn again. They don't get used again. They're only used for entertainment purposes. Even if they go out to eat, that's a business expense as well. If you talk about business at a dinner, you can write that off. Like, Business Insider knows this. They've been around too long. Senator Gary Peters, the chair of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, said celebrity musicians' use of shuttered venue grants was an abuse of federal resources. All right, Mr. Gary Peters, let's look into your finances and see what tax breaks and government programs you've utilized for yourself. Let us all put it all on display then. I'm sure everybody's got something that can be looked into. Business Insider's findings, he added, demonstrate the need for continued oversight of pandemic relief programs. Shouldn't have gave it out if y'all was just gonna try to criminalize people for it. Pandemic relief was intended to help businesses and workers in need, not super wealthy celebrities. But y'all allowed it to be used for touring expenses. What type of touring expenses do you expect to be utilized in this industry? Lil Wayne wasn't the only one to engage in questionable grant spending. Chris Brown spent his grant on a big paycheck and a big party. Of the $10 million Brown's company CBE Touring received, 5.1 went to Brown personally. He also billed taxpayers nearly $80,000 for his 33rd birthday. I would love to know what that $5 million may have been spent on personally. They say the blowout, held in a luxe Los Angeles event space, featured a $3,650 LED dance floor and atmosphere models, nude women, and body paint who cost $2,100, according to expense reports and a blog post by the party planner. The bill included more than $29,000 for hookahs, bottle service, nitrogen ice cream, and damages involving burn holes to rented couches. A celebrity birthday party is an event. It's entertainment. It's entertainment for the people that come to the show. And it produces money for the artist. While the grant was meant to support live entertainment, Brown also charged $24,000 to the grant for the cost of driving his tour bus from the U.S. to Tulum, Mexico, and back in fall 2020 during a month-long stay for him and his entourage in the resort town where he did not perform. Okay. So they're saying you used your tour bus for a road trip to Tulum, but why were you taking your tour bus if you weren't performing? Genuine question. They say he spent several days filming a video with Jack Harlow. He's working. What are y'all? Come on, man. For a joint track, but it's not clear if the rest of the trip was for business or pleasure. And more than $179,000 of the grant went toward a celebrity basketball tournament broadcast on YouTube, including a $20,000 payment to the Indianapolis Colts tight end Mo Alley Cox, who played on Brown's basketball team. This is all towards business expenses. If he broadcast it on YouTube, he's hiring celebrities to come be a part of this celebrity game or tournament. Y'all are just basically saying y'all don't support the day in the life of entertainers whose job is to consistently entertain fans, and the fact that they spent grant money on it. They have a breakdown of Chris Brown's money. They say $5.1 million went to himself. We still don't know what that was spent on to entail self. They say he spent $1.3 million on insurance. He gave $823,000 to manager Ant Wilson. He paid $556 to the same accountants at NKSFB that Wayne works with. He spent another $498,000 with lawyers at Grubman Shire. I think that's the same lawyers that Wayne used. So both parties attributed $1 million apiece to the same accountants and lawyers. That's interesting. So I think it's pretty safe to say these accountants and lawyers were the ones that put them onto game. Crew payroll, $383,000. Celebrity basketball tournament, $180,000. His birthday, $80,000. Everything else, $1 million. Brown, his attorneys and managers did not respond to requests for comment. Representatives for Harlow and Ali Cox also did not. Why would they? They only just showed up to be a part of something. Others also paid themselves, taking advantage of an SVOG spending category that Business Insider drew attention to last year called owner's compensation, which is not illegal. The SBA's guidance said artists could use grants to pay their loan out company to pay themselves as long as the check was no bigger than it was in 2019. So they're saying people overpaid themselves. Marshmello, whose real name is Christopher Comstock, received a $9.9 million grant. More than a year later, when the SBA asked for proof of where it went, his business manager, Stephen McCulley of NKSFB, take them bitches up. Because they saw that this program was available. They informed their clients. And if it was, there's always got to be a denial process. Everybody can't get approved. So as much as I would love to say there's excess going on, I would love to understand like where this is just like some supreme mishandling. They say because the beneficiary received 2019 officer draw salary from 365 Touring International in excess of the SVOG grant award. Okay. Expensed the entire grant balance to payroll, Macaulay wrote in an April 2023 letter seen by Business Insider. So hold on. So you're saying Marshmello gave himself the entire grant to himself? Interesting. In other words, because Comstock made more than $9.9 million from touring in 2019, he was able to award himself the entire grant. In doing so, Comstock paid himself more than any other musician who received grant money. So he didn't tour, he didn't do nothing, is what y'all trying to say. I think this is probably the worst case that I've seen. Comstock's publicist and his manager didn't reply to requests for comment, nor did Macaulay. Artists often paid themselves far more than they paid anyone else involved in putting on their live shows. Of course, why would they pay anyone more than they pay themselves when they are the primary reason there's a live show going on? Steve Aoki's loan out company, DJ Kid Millionaire Touring, used $2.4 million in grant money on payroll costs, of which $1.9 million was officer pay. Aoki is the company's only officer. So they gave him $2.4 million. He paid himself $1.9 and can't really, I guess you're trying to say he can't justify why he paid himself that. But again, as long as it's below what you previously made, there wasn't supposed to be any sort of legal ramification. Millionaires and billionaires exploit these types of things on a daily. So I'm just trying to understand why this is such a big deal. Other than homeboy that just took the money and kept it for himself. 3 of the 4 members of the rock band Shinedown split at least $2.5 million of their $8.3 million grant. On top of those distributions, Shinedown's 4 members paid themselves more than $100,000 each out of the roughly $1.2 million of the grant that was allocated to payroll. The band's 15 touring production workers, meanwhile, received a combined $650,000 of the grant money, less than a single member of the band got. Publicists for the band didn't respond to requests for comment. It does seem that if you got 15 people on staff, $650,000 is a little low. If y'all received $8.3 million from the grant. That does seem a little fishy. Records seen by BI show that a good chunk of the $7.7 million grant to Srem Touring, that's Ray Sremmer, oh shit. The loan out company for the hip-hop duo Ray Sremmer was paid to the rappers Slim Jimmy and Sway Lee, whose real names are Akil Brown and Khalif Brown. The duo's manager, lawyer, and publicist didn't respond to requests for comment. So they got $7 million, and they say they kept the majority of it for themselves. They say Chris Brown kept $5 million for himself, and they couldn't describe what it was for. So in those instances, I do think there is some wrongdoing there if you're not spending it on businesses. I think Wayne spent a lot of that on wardrobe and presentation. Although I disagree with what he spent it on when I saw it. That shit was ugly. But that's a personal taste. On March 23rd, 2022, records showed that Alice in Chains singer and guitarist Jerry Cantrell took in $1.4 million as an SVOG distribution. The band's drummer Sean Kinney received the same amount, and its bassist Mike Inez booked half that sum, about $682,000. In all, $3.4 million of the $4.1 million grant allotted for payroll went to the three musicians at the top. Yeah, so y'all was just chilling and got free money. Like other grant applicants, AIC Entertainment, the three band members' touring business, had to tell the government only that the money was necessary. But the month before they took their grant payments, the band members recorded about $48 million in income from selling the copyrights on their catalog. Okay? This pocket watching like a motherfucker, man. They made hundreds of thousands of dollars more from merchandise sales and other profit distributions in 2022. But nowhere, well, it is a relief campaign. But come on. They say the band spent some money to pay its staff. It paid hundreds of thousands to sound equipment rental firms, videographers, and managers, but the precarious nature of working in the live entertainment business didn't change for some of its employees. Scott Dockerdon, a guitar tech and tour photographer who had worked with the band for years, received a cancer diagnosis in late 2022. The band, which records show did not spend grant money on benefits like health insurance. Oh, shit. They created a GoFundMe page. So they got all this money coming in. And instead of paying for health insurance for their people, they said, shit, we're not paying for your medical issues despite all this money we got. Take your ass to GoFundMe. Now that is low. I don't know if it's illegal, but it's low for somebody that y'all fucking with that's been touring with you as a guitar tech for years. But again, where is the legal grounds? They say he has no health insurance and now cannot work to pay his bills. The band's lead singer said on Facebook that Alice in Chains helped out behind the scenes. But a person familiar with the situation said that Grrrls didn't get much, if any, money from the band during the pandemic, and that after his diagnosis, the band connected him with a charity that helps with medical bills. He soon died after his, oh my God. Damn. So y'all had money that could have possibly saved him. Y'all sent him to GoFundMe and some other organization, charity, that wasn't able to help him. He died. Now that's fucked up. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program was pitched to Americans as a way to ensure that arts groups would still exist after the pandemic. In an interview with James Corden on The Late Late Show, Chuck Schumer cast it as a way to protect middle-class people and young artists while pandemic restrictions forced closures. But y'all really didn't care about young artists or middle-class people. There was only so many grants that actually helped musicians such as myself. Shout out to music.com. Shout out to the SBA for seeing some relief that was due for me, that they was able to give me. But outside of that, there wasn't much out there. I mean, especially for somebody in hip hop. And I think that's where the injustice lies when it comes to arts funding, when it comes to when you think about residencies that will pay you, artists in residence, when it comes to just straight up art grants, 95% of them do not support urban arts, such as rappers, singers, not even producers that are in our space. You have to be a trained musician, a guitarist, a singer, a bassist, a visual artist that does like fucking light shows. You got to be a painter. But when it comes to people that come from our backgrounds, there is no arts relief. So I'm not mad at people finding ways when one is on the horizon. Now, some of these people I do feel like overstepped. But if we're going to talk, then let's talk. Ultimately, more than 13,000 art groups received grants, including some who say they wouldn't still exist otherwise. When the shutdowns happened, it was existential, immediate crisis, said Brandy Hochner, the founder of Arizona Actors Academy, an acting school in Phoenix. The grant of less than $120,000 the group received utterly saved us. But that's the problem right there. Why did y'all only give or allot $120,000 to this acting school, but y'all were willing to give $10 million out to Lil Wayne, Chris Brown, and these other people? That means that there was a big disparity just based on who y'all thought deserved the money anyway. Because if everybody was able to get $10 million and then you want to come back and put everybody under scrutiny, that would be one thing. But now we're seeing the large disparity that the folks that actually needed the money were not given the money, and y'all gave it to these people based on who they were. So why are they now being held responsible for an oversight in the program that allowed it to happen? They say musicians weren't explicitly categorized as eligible, and initially the SBA interpreted the law to mean that artist loan out companies couldn't qualify for the grant either. And if that was the case, y'all should have kept it that way. By mid-December 2021, for reasons BI was unable to determine, the agency had reversed that decision, according to an internal memo seen by Business Insider, which cleared the way for federal funding to flow to wealthy artists. That is not the artist's fault if they changed the policy. I love going through this shit and just picking holes in bullshit. The business management firm NKSFB also made millions from the program. Hey, look into them. Partners at the firm initially believed that their celebrity clients didn't qualify. At least one partner feared that applying could be perjury, and another, Rob Salzman, thought the whole thing was bullshit. Later, in an interview with Billboard magazine as part of its list of top business managers, Salzman said that applying for the grants was an example of the firm's outside-the-box thinking. But if y'all wouldn't approve them, y'all wouldn't be looking back at this shit retroactively. They say the change of heart led to a big payday. Court documents show the firm made at least $7.5 million in fees on the grants, which would be their portion that their artists owed them for finding this operation that funded them. What else y'all got? Cause I don't, you know what I mean? This is some bullshit. Other white-collar professionals also out-earned techs and roadies. Lawyers at the celebrity favorite firms Greenberg Traurig and Grutman Shire. I mean, they're supposed to get money. If I'm paying my lawyers, what the fuck do the lawyers care where the money's coming from? As long as it's legal. Managers, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. These are people that help these artists run their business. They're supposed to pay them. Hodgson. Whoa. What happened here? A music industry insider who learned from Business Insider about... Hold on, y'all. Give me a second. All right. They say insider who learned from the Business Insider about NKSFB's wave of grant applications said he was stunned the Small Business Administration approved them. Exactly. Why did they approve them? They say, it never crossed my mind that we should be trying to get this money from my artists, said the insider. An artist manager who was involved in lobbying lawmakers to pass the legislation and who asked not to be named because of the issue's sensitivity. Says, I was in countless conversations. No one ever discussed artists collecting this money. It never came up. Hochner, the acting school founder. So this is from the school we talked about before. She said she was speechless upon learning about Business Insider's reporting of how celebrity musicians spent their grants. Though the amount of money sent to pop stars is small relative to the overall amount of money dispersed through the grant program, she said she worried it would taint the public's perception of government support for the arts, support that is still needed. Let's be honest here. The public don't have a perception of government support for the arts. The public, for most people that are not involved in the arts, which is it's a large community, but a relatively small community when you really break it down into like who's a real serious practitioner. They don't give a fuck. All right. When I told my parents I wanted to be an artist, they said, don't do it, nigga. The fuck? Take your ass to school. Do something safe with your life. Now, I don't regret, because I wouldn't be here with y'all. But going into the arts once upon a time, that shit was not even a viable option. I say, I will never forget how hard fought for this funding was, right? So she says the SBA made it tough for her, but it was easy for these millionaires. That is not their fault. That's the fault of the program that allowed it to happen. Why? Where's the scrutiny for them? Where's the pressure on the SBA? Why did they, you know what I'm saying? But they're funded by the government, so they're not going to scrutinize their own product. Soon after Congress created the program, lawmakers began pressing the Small Business Administration to go get money out the door. So they told them, hey, just go give money out, man. Fuck it. That's Congress. By mid-June 2021, more than 200 members of Congress had signed 2 separate letters demanding the agency disperse the funds expeditiously, saying arts organizations could go out of business without immediate relief. That sounds like Congress wanted to create some sort of, connection with this growing artistic community to say we side with artists. So they made a huge statement by creating the program, putting it out there and allowing people, although it didn't go to the right people, they wanted to strengthen their connection to the artistic community. Why? I don't know. Wasn't in those offices or those meetings. But this sounds like a load of horse shit. The SBA said congressional pressure was not the driving factor. Oh, you sure? Behind changes that sped up the grant process and merely coincided with changes it was already making. Y'all allowed them to come out with these half-baked statements, but y'all went all the way into Lil Wayne and Chris Brown and others spending. But you allowed them to give you a 1-sentence response. Interesting. The agency hoped to balance a quick release of funds with a desire to protect against large-scale fraud that had plagued other pandemic programs. Its compromise was to relax some anti-fraud controls on the front end of the grant process, a report from the SBA's Inspector General said. Instead, it planned to verify whether the grantees were actually eligible and how the money was spent after distributing the grants. In its response to the Inspector General's report, the agency said it disagreed with the conclusion that changes how it evaluated applications amounted to weakened fraud controls. The approach had mixed results. The Government Accountability Office said it submitted 3 phony applications to the program and that all 3 were rejected. But some of the 8 current and former SBA workers who spoke to Business Insider said they felt the agency was too permissive and ignored or misrepresented relevant rules. For example, allowing grantees to spend federal funds on thousands of dollars worth of alcohol. They say they were just trying to get money out. If it was fraudulent, if it was not eligible, whatever. A person who worked on the grant said. They asked not to be named because they feared retaliation, but their identity is known to Business Insider. So these are people that work inside those buildings that said some of this shit should not have been cleared, but for some reason it was. But y'all ain't putting enough pressure on the motherfuckers who cleared it. But y'all want to go to the motherfuckers who received it. I'm not with that. The SBA's Inspector General criticized the agency's decision to spot problems after the recipients already spent the money, saying it does not provide sufficient fraud prevention and comes at a point when funds are potentially unrecoverable. Big facts. Some SBA employees said that as the program began to wind down, they were pressured to certify recipients' compliance with program rules rather than dig through detailed records of their spending. SBA said in September they recouped $43 million worth of the grants, an amount that had not increased since July. It's not clear how the agency recovered that money. While the SBA has a team to recover wrongfully awarded grants, an organizational chart suggests that as of late September, it hadn't assigned any staff to do it. Documents obtained in a public records request said $6 billion worth of grants remain under review. $6 billion. 4 people who worked on the program said they tried to raise concerns about grantees' eligibility and spending to supervisors to no avail. I was never so disappointed in my fellow man than in that program. The graft was unbelievable. 2 of those people said they were frustrated the agency wasn't doing more to investigate possible misspending and recover funds. I don't want to keep going through this, but what I will say is this. As somebody who's filled out grant paperwork in the past, they're going to ask you how much you make. What does your business bring in? What are you know what I'm saying? They're going to ask you for years, for as long as your business has been in running, in standing. They're going to ask you what you typically bring in. They're going to ask you questions like, what are you going to do with the money if we give it to you? Why do you need it? They got all types of shit that they ask you. So also, how much you make is going to determine for them how much they feel you need it. So if you're a business, entertainer, artist, you typically bring in a lot of money, and there's a global pandemic, an illness, and widespread emergency that could send your big business into the hole. They're going to say you need more money than J Nolan, who brings in X amount of dollars, has X amount of need. Y'all not going to give me $1 million. Y'all not going to give me $10 million. Y'all would probably give somebody such as myself more like 10,000, if that, if y'all don't decline it. So why is it now that y'all want to try to reel it back in now that the program isn't even needed no more? I mean, it's cool to like have a article about all the money that was in circulation, but what are y'all planning to accomplish with this? Are y'all trying to attack the SBA? Are y'all trying to put them under investigation? Are you going to go to trial with the SBA? Is somebody trying to set up a class action suit against the SBA to say that these funds were misappropriated and that small artists in the world didn't get what they needed at a time when all the money was available? Would y'all do a collection and disperse that among relevant artists that were in need during this time period? I don't expect to see none of that happen. So y'all can miss me with that bullshit, Business Insider. But nice article. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider, not a business insider, but an industry insider. And I will catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be good out there. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. But drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.